E nós temos dentro do segmento de riba trip e nós vamos para de algo que nós chega de papel acaba com ele, pero nós não vai hobby deep tende para nós por aqui que tá. Nós sura tende lá sudiana aqui com Donald Trump pues a sali for de acordo caminha com quase 200 países da forma parte de G, tem caso aqui Nicarágua, e Síria e também tem caso aqui América não afirma e acordo aqui e aqui está pues Paris Climate Agreement. Só que um acordo caminha país não está invertir placa para por trás arriba e climate change, não saco e cambio climatológico é um fact, por mire. Nós vamos para aqui e agora que nós vamos a Kiko da Paris Climate Agreement. Então vamos aqui para um vídeo caminha pues o presidente da UN da papia tocante disso aqui.
The whole world is watching. Billions of people are relying on your wisdom. The time has come to acknowledge that national interests are best served by acting in the global interest and solidarity.
Thus, as of today, the United States will cease all implementation of the non-binding Paris Accord and the draconian financial and economic burdens the agreement imposes on our country.
President Trump's announcement that he was withdrawing the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accord in a lot of ways is unsurprising. This was really a central campaign promise of his, but he also wrapped it in what's become kind of a typically Trumpian solution to a lot of these issues that he's inherited. He's saying both that the U.S. is going to immediately withdraw from the Paris Accord, but he's also talking about renegotiating, trying to get better terms for American workers. This is leaving a lot of people actually confused because there's nothing binding about the Paris Accord and the targets that the Obama administration set. So if Trump wanted to, he could move forward with different standards, but he's going to go through a process of renegotiation. Whether the European partners who are big players in this Paris Accord are going to let him do that remains an open question.
Pues aquí nos por vista de lo que el Paris Agreement nos para mira pues 200 países no pues que forma parte de esa aquí está invirtiendo no solamente financieramente pero también hincando interna esfuerzo para esa que vira una realidad y también esa que vira un éxito naturalmente para nuestro planeta y no solamente pues para el país no involucrar pero entero el planeta pues nos sabe pues esa que tinta marca unos aguanan unos tierra pues parte de área verde turcos e também nos usam lá turca que é importante dado na gas não que hope de país não aqui tá saca e diferente fábrica na e essa que puesta lo que tá parte chiquito que está ocasionando com nos cambio climatológico pues tá virando grande antes aqui tá trazendo pues consequência negativo para nós pero Kiko tá e consequência não agora Kiko Donald Trump pues sali, por lo tanto no hay acuerdo con el Paris Climate Agreement que consecuencia es aquí lo portín tanto para americanos pero para el mundo entero. Vamos.
The U.S. are now the only countries that are not members of the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. The move to leave the deal will create uncertainty about the future of the renewable energy industry in the U.S. The U.S. coal industry wanted to stay part of the agreement to influence future negotiations. Critics say leaving the deal will weaken America's global leadership and could prompt China and other nations to implement a carbon tax on U.S. exports. The U.S. has so far paid a third of the $3 billion that President Obama pledged to the Green Climate Fund set up after Paris. The decision to leave the deal will save American taxpayers $2 billion, but could impact U.S. jobs in the renewable energy sector. The Paris Climate Agreement calls for a limit in the rise of global temperatures to no more than 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels by 2020. Scientists say an increase above that level could have catastrophic implications for the planet.
Algún día lo cual que por suceder en caso que agora que pues América a salir for the deal aqui pues agora que também tá para naturalmente também o pedir acordo não bilateral que normalmente se tem entre países essa aqui também por 13 que o pedir alguma pessoa também tiki não contento que o país ando pues por tem consequência negativa para outro deal não que não lo que será que o país não aqui. Pero más información tocando de climate change aquí para nos por comprender más tanto de lo cual está sucediendo y lo por va a suceder arriba nos planeta. Vamos.
The Paris Agreement is an international agreement to lower worldwide greenhouse gas emissions in order to mitigate climate change. The agreement's goal is to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels by having individual countries each pledge to reduce their own emissions. A 2-degree increase has long been considered a red line, beyond which increasingly devastating global environmental impacts, like melting ice, sea level rise, and reduced food crop yields, would begin to occur. Countries that sign on to the agreement will be required to present national plans to reduce emissions and keep the amount of their greenhouse gas emissions public and up to date. National plans are to be reviewed every 5 years and are expected to be made more ambitious, if necessary, over time to meet new emissions targets. It isn't entirely clear what happens if countries miss their emissions targets, beyond the fact that they'll be disappointing their peers in the agreement and that they'll be under pressure to do better. The Paris Agreement entered into force on November 4, 2016, after India and the European Parliament voted to join. China and the U.S. officially joined the Paris Agreement on September 3, 2016.
Pues aquí nos podemos tirar vista de algún día cosas que el país aquí que está involucrado en el agreement aquí comienza a bajar. Y es aquí naturalmente algún día emisión de gas aquí baja, es aquí naturalmente. Y hope otro día cosas que algún país lo mestre baja así para evitar que es aquí lo por en consecuencia de manera nos pueda mirar crecimiento pues si nos aguanan, caminamos por baja de mes diferentes lugares que lo por vai inundar, erosi, pero diferente cosas que pues parte de naturaleza por tin como consecuencia negativo. Pero a pregunta está agora, de verdade essa aqui está bom agreement? Essa aqui está bom contrato que os dois países aqui está firmando? Dus, me tem que pôr também é outro banda de medalha, porque Trump tem razão, ou não? Dus laten we ons entender alguma pessoa que cita aí que não, essa aqui não é bom deal. Vamos escutar.
The only constant is change. That's true about life, and it's true about the climate. The climate has been constantly changing since the Earth was formed 4.6 billion years ago. For example, in just the past 2,000 years, we have seen the Roman warm period, when it was warmer than today. Then came the cooler Dark Ages, followed by the medieval warm period, when it was at least as warm as today. Then we had the Little Ice Age that drove the Vikings out of Greenland, and most recently, a gradual 300-year warming to the present day. That's a lot of changes, and of course, not one of them was caused by humans. During the past 400,000 years, there have been 4 major periods of glaciation, meaning that vast sheets of ice covered a good part of the globe, interrupted by brief interglacial periods. We are in one of those periods right now. This is all part of the Pleistocene Ice Age, which began in earnest 2.5 million years ago. It's still going on, which means that we are still living in an ice age. That's the reason there's so much ice at the poles. 30 million years ago, the Earth had no ice on it at all. So then what about carbon dioxide, the great villain of the global warming alarmists? Where does that fit into this picture? Not as neatly as you might think. Temperatures and carbon dioxide levels do not show a strong correlation. In fact, over very long time spans, periods of hundreds of millions of years, they are often completely out of sync with one another. Over and over again, within virtually any time frame, we find the climate changing, for reasons we do not fully understand. But we do know there are many more factors in play than simply the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere. Factors such as the shape and size of the Earth's elliptical orbit around the Sun, activity from the Sun, and the amount of wobble or tilt in the Earth's axis, among many others. Even the relatively short 300-year period from the peak of the Little Ice Age to the present has not been steady. The latest trend has been a warming one, but it began nearly a century before there were significant carbon dioxide emissions from burning fossil fuels. And there has been no significant warming trend in the 21st century. Contrary to media headlines, the trend over the past couple of decades has been essentially flat. Meanwhile, human-caused CO2 emissions are higher than ever. About 25% of all the CO2 emissions from human sources have occurred during this period of no net warming. So what are we in for next? Will the temperature resume an upward trend? Will it remain flat for a lengthy period? Or will it begin to drop? No one knows, not even the biggest, fastest computers. All the information I've presented, the increases, decreases, and plateaus in temperature over the ages and into the last centuries, is available to anyone who wants to seek it out. Yet to state these simple facts is to risk being called a climate change denier. Not only is that absurd, it's mean-spirited. It's absurd because no one, not even the most fervent skeptic, denies that the climate is changing. And it's mean-spirited because to call someone a climate change denier is to intentionally link them to people who deny the Holocaust. So maybe it's time to stop the name-calling. Predicting the climate, one of the most complex systems on Earth, with thousands of inputs, many of which we don't understand, isn't an exact science or anything close to it. Maybe it's just a tad arrogant to suggest that we can predict the weather or the climate or just about anything 60 years from now. The science is not settled. The debate is not over. The climate is always changing, it always has, and it always will. I'm Patrick Moore, co-founder of Greenpeace for Prager University.
Pues aquí nos hay un vista di outra banda, di lo qual non sapete papà di Paris Agreement, con lo quale 200 paesi aqui sta firmando pues para bajar CO2 e carbon dioxide fuori differenti fabbriche aqui e também para aqui por com para trazer naturalmente menos cambio climatológico que nós temos agora aqui, para segundo não hope de essa aqui tá para hope de fábrica não também é lo qual nos auto não saca lo que nos produto não que nós usando a vendia ou nos spuit não tudo isso aqui não tem como consequência o nosso mundo segundo é agreement tem como consequência negativo riba nos planeta. A pessoa me passa outro vídeo que é co-founder de Greenpeace, que também é uma organização bastante conhecida pues, de nosso país. E naturalmente essa aqui está treze que não avisa que o nosso mundo, o nosso planeta, cambia durante siglos. Antes aqui abin trece pues cambio nan camina con temporada estaba caliente, temporada no estaba tin conocido Ice Age, que según nan ainda não se vive de cierto Ice Age, caminho que nós mira com Antártica, dus Noord- e Zuidpool, pues tem ainda pues glaciers, ando para door, não tem glaciers ainda, nada considerar que ainda nós vivemos em Ice Age, certo Ice Age, dus aanhalingstekens met tenho visa, comparar com outro país. Pues, é a situação da que aqui não, e me da querer que porta a Greenpeace Agreement, of a Greenpeace advice Donald Trump lo anda com ela toma sua decisão, pero está por verse, passa, me não está mais convencido que Greenpeace su redenering na turora, para outra coisa não mais beleza, pero não.
Você tem para o mesmo estava coisa desarrollar e seguir bem. Ai, pero televidente, você tá turcos para tá um prazer, David.
Sim, great.
Nós estamos amanhã Joske.
Amanhã great.
Amanhã você não tá mira televidente e não logra assim e cosco ele põe sua meta
não tem tempo.
Gracias.
Você tem tempo, não sabe dar um roll sabe, não é tempo de cansar, pero sei que me com Miami tá bem catang. E bem que tá pendente, no Miami tem tarde para su nervio. Yo.
New Day was brought to you by MCB. Hugar Holding, Bonaire Transport and Services NV, and Mundo Mio.
La bim,